Hi class, this video is going to provide you instructions on how to complete our next assignment in our ECS 116 course. Please know that the dates may have changed based on the semester. So this assignment we're going to look at is the parent interview. So you access the parent interview by going through the main menu under assignments, and then this will open and you're going to select the folder that says parent interview. So within the parent interview folder you'll see I have the guidelines for you, and I'm going to go over that. Also, I have some supportive information. So here's a paper on empowering cultural and linguistically diverse families. Okay. And then also I have Connecting with Communities, which is another article that you might find very helpful. And they're not very long, but they're definitely helpful in terms of successful schools. And then we have our grading rubric, and I just wanted to reflect on our last assignment and note that it's really important before you turn in your assignment that you take this rubric and you compare it with what you did. So in other words, when I'm grading, if I don't see what's in the rubric in your paper, I can't give you credit for it. So you really want to self-assess your own, meaning grade your own paper using the rubric before you turn it in to me. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our guidelines. So the parent interview, the date will be changed, so it's not due March 20th. You can check your calendar for that. But the whole purpose is you're going to interview two families. And I can't stress this enough. Please make it a family you do not know and that you're not related to. So also know that they have to have children between the ages of 3 and 18. So I'm a little more flexible about the age range. So both families have to associate with a different cultural background than yours. So we don't want you to pick somebody you're familiar with. The student is going to develop 10 questions prior to the interview, and those questions are really going to be based on getting you a sound understanding of the family's practices and beliefs, okay, those cultural practices. So I do give you some support on what topics to include, so you'll see them here. So I'm asking for you to develop some questions on child rearing responsibilities. For example, who takes care of the children? Is it both, one, some? Is it an outside member? Are they in child care? Also education. What's the role of their culture in terms of education? Child rearing issues that arise, and others based on the assignment guidelines. So I'll give you some more down here. So after you interview the parent, I'm going to ask for you to reflect on your notes and analyze the parent's responses, and then we're going to submit that based on a paper. All right, so this assignment's worth 25 points, and then that's times 2 because you're doing 2 interviews, so it'll be worth 50 points total. And we're also assessing our student learner outcome number 2. So for your procedure, prior to doing the interview, it's really important that you read the information I provided in the module so you know and you have context about what I'm looking for. So I'm going to ask for you to prepare for the interview by reading the chapters, the associated articles. All of that is located in the module assignment, in the assignment folder on Blackboard, and also in the module or in the unit. So identify the 2 families that you're going to interview that are not related to you. You don't want to know them very well, and they need to be a different cultural background than yourself. You're going to develop a list of 10 questions on the topics below. Also, that you need to contact the families in advance to arrange the interview day and time. And then if for some reason you can't make that time and day that you've set, it's very important that you arrange with the parent, that you call them and you let them know that you're sorry you couldn't be there and you need to reschedule. So you're going to meet with the families and you're going to collect a signed parent permission form, and it's at the bottom of the guidelines. So that has to happen, and it has to be the legal guardian. So the legal guardian must provide that. So when you're conducting the interview with the families, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking notes. And if you are going to want to tape them, record them, you need to have their explicit express permission to do so. You can't tape people without their knowledge. So after you interview the family, I'm going to ask for you to kind of reflect over the questions, think about the readings, and you're going to submit a typed paper. So know that this paper needs to be in APA format. And I do have, let me get back here to the class. On the main menu, APA resources for you. Okay, there's some videos that you can watch. I have a sample paper that you can copy. So, the directions for the paper, you're going to provide a detailed summary and background information on the family. So, you probably want to have a question that's going to cover that. You're going to summarize the parents' responses from the interview based on your 10 questions. And I want you to discuss a minimum of 2 child care school issues identified by the parent. So, it says here to include direct quotations from the interview. That means that I want you to use the parents' words. Hold on just a second. Somebody's vacuuming. Sorry about that. Too far in to restart, 5 minutes in. Okay. So anyway, we want to make sure that you're using direct quotes from the parents. So then the number 4 says, what impact do these issues have on the child and the family or the child care school setting? You're going to write about that. And then you're going to give me some information from the parents' perspective. So how does the school understand how it's appropriate to be inclusive with their child and the family? So how does the school accommodate the similarities from the family and the differences? How is that embraced? How is that honored in the child's classroom? So based on your readings and course content, I'm going to ask for you to come up with strategies. What strategies would you use if you were the child care provider or the teacher to help integrate that family's cultural perspective into your classroom? So I'm looking for a minimum of 2 strategies, and each one of those strategies has to have a course connection. That means that you have to find something in the readings or in the book that supports why you're saying what needs to happen. So here's some questions, and I'm giving you an overview. So you're going to want to ask a question about family structure. You're going to want to ask a question about how decisions are made in the family, what types of celebrations that family participates in, what are their socialization goals for their children, what are the child rearing practices. So as you're developing your questions, you're going to want to make sure that you're connecting on these different topics. Okay. So here is our parent permission. So in order for me to grade this, you're going to need to have it signed. So I is the parent legal guardian name here. Give permission to, that's you. And I would say that, whatever date they signed it, the parent or guardian has to print their name and date it, and then they need to sign and date it. Okay, this is for the first interview. Here's for the second interview. So I have to have these, even if it's a sibling or somebody you're very close with, I still have to have a parent or guardian permission. Okay, so the next thing that I want to look at is I want to look at the grading rubric. So I'm going to go back to assignments. I'm back in the parent interview, and here's our grading rubric. So you can see in the grading rubric that I've got different, make sure I can have this go down. It's not letting it go down. Oh, there we go. I have different rows. So in theory, each row could be a section I'm grading, and it could even be like a paragraph in your paper. So the first one to get points is you want to make sure that you're turning in all the required aspects of the assignment. So it talks here about parent permission, paper with APA format, 10 typed questions. And then I actually grade the interview questions. I want to make sure that you included them, they're typed, that you got them from the guidance I provided you on the guidelines page, and that they really provided robust conversation. So a lot of conversation between you and the parent about their cultural background. So I'm also looking at potential cultural conflicts. So as you're conducting your interview, I want you to be able to identify afterwards 2 or more potential cultural conflicts that could impact the child care classroom setting. So this is where you're going to put in those quotes. It talks about quotes right here. Then we're going to talk about cultural context. So this is where I want you to discuss the parent's perspective with thoughtful details on how does the school understand their family's cultural context. The other piece you could talk about here is how they don't. So in most cases, there might be a disconnect between the school setting and the family, and you can also discuss that here. The strategies are the ones that are going to need that citation. So that's where you're going to use the materials I provided in the unit to be able to provide 2 strategies to support that family. If you were their teacher or their child care provider, how would you embrace and support them? And then of course the last part is where we're going to look at writing mechanics. So when you submit it, you're going to want to upload a copy of the permission, your typed questions, and then your paper into Blackboard. So that's 3 items going into Blackboard. So if you have any questions, actually, you know what, let me Yeah. If you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to email me at tropke@hancockcollege.edu.